All right, we're going to call this Finance Committee meeting to order. It is October 19th, 2020, 5:46 p.m. Present are council members Lang, Harris, Bubb, Blake, and Marmee. First item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $50,000.
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Let me start off by apologizing for not being here 2 weeks ago. There was a miscommunication between my court administrator and me, and that's why I wasn't here. Otherwise, I certainly would have been here to answer questions. This is simply, we got notified by the auditor's office that we're running out of money in our account that we pay the salaries from, and that's what this is for.
Okay. Questions?
I'll make a motion.
Is that by Bubb?
Yeah.
Motion by Bubb.
I'll second.
Second by Lang. One question. So the salary dollar increase, I know sometimes PERS and health insurance if somebody switched, but why more salary dollars?
The only thing I can figure out is, and I looked at it, is that we miscalculated our budget request.
Okay. All right. Any further questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation amount of $14,304.
Again, that's the court's, Mr. Chairman. We, as you know, have a number of individuals who are serving subpoenas and participating in eviction proceedings and setups and things of that nature. We have one vehicle among 4 different people who do that. So what we did was the security/deputy bailiff team came to me and to ask whether or not we could purchase a second vehicle. So what we were able to do was, not to bore you with details, but through grant money, we were able to purchase a work crew van, with the benches in it for our community service program, but we don't have that any longer. We were able to get the state of Ohio to agree to sign the title over to us just recently, and we're using that as a trade-in. We're getting about $7,500 for that, and then this is the balance that we would have to pay. This is, we're asking that you simply appropriate this from the Judicial Special Projects Fund.
I'll offer a motion. Second. I have a motion by Bubb, second by Harris. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $1,020.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a rebate, and it's from the Ohio Attorney General's office, and we ask that we put back to the EMS supplies account.
Motion.
Second. A motion by Bubb, second by Lang. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is request for appropriation in the amount of $6,389.80.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is the city's portion of the refund from the homeless project that was not spent due to a consultant not finishing some work.
I'll offer a motion.
Second. A motion by Bubb, second by Harris. Any questions and or discussion? Director, this is just going back into the unappropriated balance of the general fund, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Yes.
Do you, if they want to finish it or another consultant, do you think this money would have to come back out?
Not at this time. I don't think.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. That motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, this Finance Committee meeting stands adjourned. Next up is service.
All right, we'll call the service committee meeting to order. Those present are myself, Rath, Harris, Parker, Blake, and Bub. Up first, ordinance number 20-35, an ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property generally described as 298 Bella Vista Avenue, City of Newark, Licking County, Ohio, from that of LC Limited Commercial District to Single Family Residence, RH, High Density District, zoning code of the City of Newark, Ohio. Mr. Moorhead.
This is a request that came from the property owner. He actually owns the property adjacent to the south of him where he has his business. The subject property, though, is a residential property. So he would like to change it back to residential, change it to residential to fit what the actual use is as opposed to his business, which is, like I said, just adjacent to the south of there. So that's really the root of the request. Not very often does somebody want to go from a commercial zoning back to a residential. Usually it's the other way, but in this case he does. And I think he's planning his maybe the sale or retirement from his future business, and then this house would probably be sold at that time. So, any other questions? I'll try to answer them.
So this will go, if voted upon, this will go forward to the planning commission
Correct.
and then back to council.
Correct.
All right, any questions from the committee?
I'll offer a motion.
Motion by Bub,
Second.
seconded by Parker. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I had a question about the high density. Single families, it's high density. That didn't make much sense to me. Is it, he's gonna have a business, he's bringing it to his property?
No, the property that he's wanting to change is a house now, a residential house. But when the zoning was set up, probably in 2009, because his name was on that property as well as the adjacent property where his business is. I think when they established the zoning, they called the house under that zoning as well, but the house is not part of the business.
Any further questions?
Okay.
Seeing no questions, pass. All in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. That'll pass with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Moore. Up next, resolution number 20-79, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service for the City of Newark, Ohio to enter into a lease agreement with the Park National Bank for a lease purchase of one bucket truck for use in the Division of Street and Traffic.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr.
Rhodes, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the street traffic department, we have two bucket trucks, a large bucket truck and a small bucket truck. Our small bucket truck is just worn out. So we've been renting one from time to time, and we worked out an arrangement to be able to buy that truck we've been using for a significantly reduced price than a new truck. And we'd like to be able to move forward with that purchase.
Any questions from the committee?
Motion.
Motion by Bub,
Second.
seconded by Harris. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That'll pass 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Next, resolution number 20-80, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service for the City of Newark, Ohio, to enter into a lease purchase agreement with the Park National Bank for the purchase of 2 police cruisers and 1 pickup truck for the Division of Police.
Yes, sir. This is just ongoing rotation of police vehicles. We feel as though we have found a rotation that's working, and our officers now have the proper vehicles to do their jobs properly. These particular 2 cruisers will remain unmarked, as well as the truck. They'll be used in that manner.
I have 2 questions for you, Mr. Rhodes. One is, why is this police service, not that I mind, but not through capital improvements? And well, let's go with that.
Fair question. I didn't put it in service. I didn't put it in service. I'd have to check with the clerk.
Fair enough. And if you were in a good rotation, I think I've mentioned this before in Capital Improvements Committee, but since we're talking about this in Service Committee, if we're in a good rotation, are you talking police vehicles specifically? Or?
I'm talking police cruisers specifically, yes.
Okay. Any other questions on this issue?
Motion.
Action by Buck. Seconded by Barker. Questions from the committee? Questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That'll pass with a vote of 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Up next, resolution number 20-82, a resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service of the City of Newark, Ohio, to enter into a contract with competitive bidding for the pre-purchase of ultraviolet light disinfection system equipment at the City of Newark wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, this is a request. Yes, this is a request to pre-purchase equipment as part of our. Can you hear me?
I'm sorry,
Can you hear me?
I can now. You're more than 6 feet away.
All right. So this is a request for pre-purchase of equipment for our ultraviolet light disinfection system. We've done an extensive evaluation of this piece of equipment and have selected a piece of equipment, but this is a request to do this without competitive bidding, financial bidding. We've actually taken into consideration O&M costs, the cost of the equipment, and delivery times. The issue with a project like this, and we did this last time we did this project, we've done this on several other projects, is you have to buy the equipment before you can design the system to, to install it. Because every different manufacturer would be designed differently. So the tankage would be different, the piping would be different, the electricity would be different. And so we have to know what we're going to buy before we can design the system for the construction contract. The other issue is the lead times. These are all individually built systems. And so these are very long lead times. And we have to have disinfection in place from May until October every year. And so to get this equipment purchased, get the project designed and get it built in a timely manner to have it operating in May of 2022, we need to order this equipment today, not today, but now, and then get the project designed and get this equipment installed in a timely manner. So that's why we're here to ask to waive the bidding. But I will say we've done an extensive evaluation, and the equipment that we're proposing, the Trojan UV system, which is a system we have at the water plant and currently at the wastewater plant, we evaluate that as the best product for our installation. So,
Estimated cost of the piece of equipment along with the estimated cost of the project.
The estimated cost of a piece of equipment is just under $500,000, and the total project cost is going to be $2.5 million. This is all being paid for out of the wastewater funds, and we'll be using a water high EPA funding to borrow the money to pay for this.
Any other questions from the committee?
Sure.
Blake?
Mr. Loomis, most of us are not in your business. So I was wondering if you could walk us through this diagram that you included in the packet about what this information means. It's the graphs that show the Trojan, Wedeco, and Suez.
Yeah, so these are the three large manufacturers of UV disinfection equipment in the wastewater industry. We went out and we did site visits at several cities throughout the state of Ohio and I believe Indiana, and evaluated the installation, what it looked like. You know, some of these systems are horizontal, some are vertical, some have some of the bulbs cost more, the bulbs cost less. So we looked at, if you look down the chart, what this means is when we look at the economic portion of that, we looked at, okay, what are the costs? What's the electrical cost going to be for the type of bulb that's in there? What about the ballasts that are in there, the electrical ballasts? You know, what is the electronics and that going to cost us if it breaks down, that kind of thing? What are the rated lives of the lamp, that kind of thing? So we put that all into these O&M costs. And of course, O&M cost means how often we have to clean the bulbs, how often, you know, so that means we got to lift them up. It's personnel costs. There's different cleaning systems to these. And so we got to look at all those kind of costs that, you know, how long does it take to replace a bulb? Some systems it's easier, some systems it's harder. That means it takes me, you know, my maintenance guys have to be there for so long to you know, replace a bulb. So how many hours is that? And what's the difference in those costs? And maybe a bulb, this one bulb lasts a year, this bulb lasts 2 years. That's not exactly right, but I'm just saying that's what we're looking at. And so you take a look at all those things. We looked at 3 different things: the reliability and resiliency. That means how long are these pieces of equipment lasting? You know, we talked to these different entities. Yes, this has been in operation for 10 years. Oh, this one's only been in operation for 5 years and it's falling apart. You know, those kind of things. Not saying that's exactly what we said, but those are the things we're looking at is how long they're going to last. So you take a look at those numbers. You take a look at the economic number is, okay, how much does a piece of equipment cost? And so that's what we did as well with the actual physical cost of that. And then the O&M cost. And that includes all these things: piper replacements, bulb replacements, lamp life, you know, how much flow we can get through the systems, and those kind of things. So if you take all those things and add them up, the score is for the Trojan system. And so that's how we evaluated it, as opposed to having just a straight economic bid on this project. Plus, part of that resiliency and operation too is how soon can you get us a piece of equipment? I can't remember which one it was. One of the ones we didn't choose had almost double the lead time, that kind of thing. So we can't really take that because it doesn't fit into our instruction schedule. We're going to have a problem that way, kind of thing. So lead times, cost, you know, when we can get, and then how long will they hold the cost? When they gave us a cost, we said, okay, how long will you hold that cost? Some of them were 2 months, some of them were 3 months, some of them were, I don't know exactly what. I can go through, I got the report. I can, you know, if you would like to read through the report, we can certainly give you that report. We looked at all those things, and that's how we came up with this evaluation of the system. We think it's a very good evaluation. It's very thorough. It's, you know, it's unbiased. We took all the things, we looked at these things, and that's how we decided to come up with a cost, as opposed to just doing a straight bid. And then if we did a straight bid, here's the problem with straight bid is I got to design 3 different systems. Well, it'd be very expensive. I got to tell the engineer, okay, you design this tank, then you design this tank, and then you design this tank. It's highly impractical for us to do that. The costs get extremely high, so we try to save as much money as we can on these things. So.
It's the Trojan that we're going with? Is that the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from the committee?
I'll make a
From
motion.
the audience.
I'll second that.
Who motioned? Motion by Barker. Seconded by Bub. Further questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this out of council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That'll pass 5-0. Thank you, Roger. Up next, ordinance number 20-36, an ordinance annexing certain territory generally described as being, excuse me, 0.29 acres, more or less, located in Newark Township to the city of Newark, Ohio. That's the best description you can come up with?
I didn't do it. Comes from,
Pretty vague.
I think, the law director's office. So that property's at 422 Myrtle Avenue. They wish to annex into the city, I believe, for city services.
I'm sorry?
I believe for city services.
Okay.
I'll offer a motion.
Motion by Bub. Seconded by Barker. Questions from the committee? Questions from the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor of passing this on to council, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That'll pass 5-0. Thank you, Brian. Up next, we'll have a presentation by Nick Schultz, Transportation Engineer, Newark Key Active Transportation Plan. I went as fast as I could, Mr. Schultz, so you can have ample time.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce this project that we've been working on over the past few months. This was the Active Transportation Plan. It was a grant from the Ohio Department of Public Health and ODOT. And Licking County Health Department was the one that applied for the grant and was awarded the grant. 1 in 4 counties in the entire state were awarded this, and we were lucky enough to be one of them. So what is active transportation real quick? It's just human powered transportation. So walking, cycling, using a wheelchair. And the reason that this would fall under the health department is one of the main benefits of active transportation is the health benefits and mental health benefits of actively using transportation. It's a low cost alternative to other forms of transportation, obviously less pollution and sense of community when you're out walking around and cycling. So the team real quick that was put together for the plan, obviously Licking County Health Department, Newark, City of Heath, LCATS, ODOT. Tool Design was the consulting firm, their planning firm that guided us through the process. And Hall, the representative from their company, was involved as well. And we just set up a few goals with this plan. One was to educate the community on the importance of active transportation. 2 was to make the community safer and more accessible for active transportation. And 3, create a new network bridging the gap between different facilities. Newark specifically, we thought we could use this also to complement our existing complete streets policy that we have. We could apply it to future construction projects and development projects that occur and address any concerns or desires in the city, as well as attract funding for these projects. So the first step was just collect the existing conditions, analyze the system, look through all our existing plans that we have. As I mentioned, identify needs, gaps, barriers, crash locations, traffic volumes, and then apply realistic solutions to those. Try not to, a lot of plans, kind of grandiose ideas. We tried to kind of make it logical as much as we could. And then we developed a draft plan that we took out to the public. So obviously during the time we had this project going on, COVID hit pretty hard, so we couldn't do any in-person type of feedback. So what the consultant did was develop this interactive map that we tried to get out there as much as we could. I know we had emailed stakeholders and tried to get as many people involved on that, set up some signage in various locations to get some feedback. The online mapping, we had 133 comments on that. The survey we included with that, we had another 122 people completed that survey. Knowing people, not everybody has internet access, we tried to send out mailers. 400 of those went out with stipulation if you send yours back, you'd get a gift card to Walmart. You'd be involved in a raffle to get a gift card to Walmart. Unfortunately, we only received 25 responses back, but that's still pretty significant. We also had Facebook comments. We had 15 of those. You can see on that flyer up there, we had email and phone contacts. We only had 6 emails and 1 good old fashioned phone call. So for a total of about 170 unique responses for this project, which I thought was very successful for any type of project. I know Brian we haven't had an in-person meeting where we've had nearly that many results to go from. So once we did that, we just wanted to go real quick over some of the questions. Why do you walk? Recreation, obviously people use it for that, but I was surprised to see about half of the respondents use it as a form of transportation. It's their sole form of transportation. Obviously every trip you do ends and begins with walking, but as a sole method of transportation, that was about half the respondents said that. Okay. Yes.
Point of clarification, you said.
Sure.
So you're saying half of the respondents used walking as a sole means?
Well, not as a sole, that for that trip.
How did you determine that was their sole?
Well, for that particular trip, yeah, walk to the shopping center or do an errand, or commute to school or work. So that doesn't necessarily mean they didn't drive somewhere else or have a car or use that. They just at some point in time did, use that as their, I say sole, but that's for the trip itself, that one particular trip. So, yeah, good question.
And it just comes to mind, I know an individual lives in my neighborhood that works at Tamarack, has vehicles and means of transportation, but I see him walking up and down the street every day. That's his own personal choice.
Yep, exactly. So, thank you. So the next slide, what would you do to improve walking? I think it's pretty obvious, just improve connectivity and repair broken sidewalks that are there. So the next question we asked is what would you do, or why do you bicycle? And again, surprisingly, I think personally, a large number of people said they use it to shop or run errands or go to school or go to work. That was about a third of the response that we got back, so they do that for that particular trip. So same with the next slide. Basically, how would you improve that? Basically, more connections. So that's what we kind of based our projects on here for our finalized plan. If you go to the next slide, we developed a final project map. And I will mention in the plan, there's a lot of non-infrastructure recommendations too. I just wanted to focus, try not to take too much of your time, to focus on these infrastructure projects that we came up with. Total 113 total projects, 44 miles of path, 21 miles of walk, 10 miles of off-street bikeway, and then 29 kind of spot, we call them spot improvements. So obviously with quite a bit of projects there, we thought we had to prioritize those projects to make sure we're getting started with the things we wanted to do. And fortunately for us, the highest priority and the most positive comments we received was a project we're actually in the design on right now. As a shared use path on Granville Road to connect 21st Street to OSU campus. Also in the higher priority list was a shared use path on the railroad tracks down in Heath, where it ends at Hopewell Drive, to connect to Newark from Hopewell up to Raccoon Creek came up at the top, and then an on-street bike facility on State Route 13 between the freeway and 21st Street. And then finally a sidewalk or shared use path on 21st Street on the west side between the freeway and State Route 13. So those were kind of the four that came to the top of all these projects. On the next slide, I just wanted to highlight some of the projects that we were really already in design on before this plan even began. I won't go through all those, but there were 8 of those that happened to come up that we're already working on. So, and finally, just the next steps. LCATS will present this to their board for adoption on November 10th. And from there, we can pursue funding options for these. There's a list of opportunities there that we can pursue for these improvements. And then I would imagine the county after this would want to expand to other interested communities. I think Johnstown's probably interested, so they'd probably want to get involved. And then we just update as needed. So with that, I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Love your last slide.
Oh yeah, cop to the next slide. Just a little Monday humor, I guess.
So, awesome. Mr. Blake, do you have a question?
Yeah. Nick, thank you for your work. I appreciate you bringing this forward to us. We're having a discussion about it. I'm curious about on your prioritization list, the second item that says from Hopewell Drive to Raccoon Creek. Is that the path that goes that would go along the railroad track to go like from Hopewell to 4E?
Yes.
And then on, okay.
Yes.
Just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
Yes.
So, okay. And then I was wondering, the data that you collected from your one of the earlier slides that included the crashes of pedestrians and bicyclists. Did you use that data to sort of determine the best ways to alleviate future crashes or future? What was the use of that data?
That was kind of a hotspot, just to kind of find hotspots by section. We didn't dive into specific locations. I do that kind of, in the normal day-to-day work, just try to find where these locations are. With pedestrian and bicycle crashes, there really isn't a clump. It's usually spread out on a section. So like 21st Street, usually between, 2 endpoints. It's not usually like one location that jumps out. So yeah, use it as kind of a corridor wide And obviously your higher volume crashes or locations are gonna have your higher crash rates. So,
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from committee members? Questions from the audience? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Service committee meetings will be adjourned.